Please welcome. So I know that most of you have met me already, but for those that may not have, my name's Kevin Daly, and I'm the Young Carers Education Worker at East Renfrewshire Carers Centre. So it's my job to kind of promote the Young Carers Statement app that we have here in East Renfrewshire. And as well as that, it's about kind of supporting kind of young carers in school and raising awareness in schools through kind of like PSHE lessons or doing assemblies as well. I've got my colleagues from the Young Carers team that have joined us this morning. Adele, we've got Adele, we've got Anna, and we've got Sarah as well. So I think the girls might wave just to kind of so that they can show you who they are. So just to give a wee bit of kind of background, so like this is actually the first ever Young Carers Action Day. So Young Carers Action Day, in its forum, this was before it was known as Young Carers Awareness Day. But due to kind of consultation with Carers Trust and kind of young carers from across the country, it was decided to change the name to Young Carers Action Day, as it was kind of gathered to be kind of like more of a sort of kind of drive to positive change for young carers. Unfortunately, due to kind of circumstances this year, due to the pandemic, we can't have an in-person event as we would have liked to because of COVID-19. But I have to say that we're actually very, very lucky, and we're very grateful to have the guest speakers that we have this morning to talk to us about, all the kind of the things that are available for young carers in East Renfrewshire as well. So we've got a kind of vast array of kind of guest speakers who will be talking about the support that they provide for young carers, not only on a local level but on a national level as well, which I think is really important to kind of see how things are at a national stage as well. So without further ado, I would like to first introduce Mr. David Gordon from the East Renfrewshire Council Education Department to talk about kind of like young carers from David's side of things as well. And like I said, I hope you all have your coffee and your cake at hand, and I hope you get as much out of this session as you possibly can. Thank you. Right, David, thank you.
So my name's David Gordon, and I'm a Quality Improvement Officer in the Education Department at East Renfrewshire Council. And part of my responsibilities is around young carers. It's about linking in with the Carer Centre, supporting our schools to give young carers the very best support, and trying to ensure that the standards of support on offer in all our schools is consistent and at the very kind of highest level possible. So I really appreciate being invited along today. It's great to be here. Really sorry, as Kevin said, that we're not meeting up, kind of physically in the same room to share a cup of coffee. I've already finished my first cappuccino of the day, but I'll be making another one after this bit of input, and I can sit back and relax and enjoy listening to the other speakers this morning. But I really appreciate the invitation, and it's great to be here. So I just want to say a little bit. It'll take 5 minutes or so. To give an overview of the way at present that our schools are working with the Carer Centre, working with myself, and trying to provide the best support for our young carers across all our primary and secondary schools. And just to tell you a little bit, about the kind of the next steps that we plan to kind of just keep further improving that level of support. So about 3 years ago, in East Renfrewshire, we set up a schools working group, which is made up of myself, Mark Mulhern, who's the manager of the Carer Centre, initially 4, but then increasing to 6 of our schools, who are represented by staff working in senior leadership or pastoral care roles. Those 6 schools were Eastwood High School, Neilston Primary School, St Luke's High School and St Mark's Primary School, and Williamwood High School and Carrollside Primary School. Kevin later kind of joined the group once he was in post. The aim of the group was to develop and share best practice in identifying and supporting young carers across all our schools. So after a few meetings, we were able to make a case to the Carers Act Implementation Group, which is a high-level group in East Renfrewshire, and make sure that we all put the Carers Act into place. And that was to fund the post of an education support worker from April 2019. So that is Kevin, and we're very lucky to have him. Funding also covered the cost of a Young Carers app, which has been promoted through the Carers Centre in our schools. The app, as hopefully many of you will know, is in two parts. It allows children and young people to identify themselves as young carers, and it allows them with support to complete an assessment of their caring responsibilities and support needs. This support could come from staff in our schools, or from Kevin, or from other staff at the Carers Centre. It's really about having the right support in place at the right time. The assessment can lead on to completing a young carer statement if the young person wishes for this to happen. So the 6 schools in the group that I mentioned have worked closely with Kevin since that time. Myself and Kevin have also contacted all primary and secondary schools to offer similar levels of support. And so far, Kevin has been actively engaged in about 2/3 of our schools, but we still aim to get in, so to speak, to the rest of these schools before the funding for the post runs out. Kevin has also led awareness raising campaigns, both for staff and for pupils, to highlight what it means to be a young carer and how it can affect your daily life, both in and out of school. This awareness raising has included staff training sessions and year group or whole school assemblies for pupils. Kevin has also led workshops and PSHE lessons across our schools, and he's supported pastoral care teams to do this themselves. He's been involved in supporting events such as Parents' Evening and a range of other school events. Kevin's also been instrumental in organising celebration and awareness raising events like this one today, which have involved young people and staff from our schools. I'm working with Kelly Monroe from the National Carers Trust organisation, who's with us this morning, to deliver professional learning sessions to probationer teachers over the last 2 years. Probationer teachers, as some of you will know, are those who are in their first year of teaching, so they get a lot of extra training in that year, which aims to set them up for a long and successful career. And we believe that having a better understanding of the experience of young carers is a very important part of that initial training over their first year. Kevin and myself also presented to our local GIRFEC Schools Forum, which is attended by senior leaders from every school. We highlighted some of the best practice developed across the 6 pilot schools. The timing of this event turned out to be pretty poor because it was just over a year ago, so all schools closed a couple of weeks later. Hard to believe that is a year, isn't it? This was good in terms of being able to promote young carers as a priority group for schools to think about during lockdown, for extra support and for places in hubs. But it also meant that we lost some momentum in terms of putting systems in place across all our schools to provide the best long-term support that would be sustainable beyond the time of the education support worker post. Through the GIRFEC Forum and other networks, we've also been able to make better links as a whole between the Carers Centre and our schools, including the sharing of information relating to the Young Carers Grant, to Young Scot entitlements, and to local grants to support young carers. Although a lot of this work I've described sounds as if it depends on the education support worker role, the aim is also very much to embed this work in schools so that their own staff have the knowledge and the confidence to continue to improve the support available for young carers in the future, even beyond the time of this post. Okay. So we're really pleased that the number of young carers identified and recorded by our schools has increased sharply over the last 2 or 3 years, roughly doubling in each of the last 2 years, as you can see, from 28 in September 2016 to 126 last September. But this doesn't mean that we're pleased, by the way, that there are more and more children and young people having to provide care. It's more a case of we know that there are many of you, so we're pleased that in more cases we know who you are, or you feel confident to share that information with your schools and with key people in the schools, so that we're able to offer the support when it's needed. We also have about 35, I think at the last count, children and young people who have chosen to complete a young carer statement, which expresses what support they need and who they want to know about this and share that information with. However, we realise that we need better data and better evidence to demonstrate the impact of the increased level of identification of young carers. It's one thing to know who you are, but it's another to put the best support in place and to be able to prove that that is happening. And we do realise that there will be many more young carers out there in East Renfrewshire who we have yet to identify or who have yet to feel confident enough to come forward and share that information. It's a shame, as I said earlier, that we started sharing best practice across our schools just before the first lockdown. So we need to do more of that now as schools begin to reopen, to make sure that young carers get the same level of service in whichever school they attend. As a member of the local authority groups such as the Young Person Steering Group, myself and Mark O'Hearn have been able to link in with partners in social work and health across the third sector to better coordinate support and to raise greater awareness of the needs of young carers, both through and beyond the pandemic. Mark and myself also report back on our work to the Carers Act Implementation Group, and this is important as they are a high-level group who make decisions, big decisions, including about future funding. I mentioned the training that we've led for head teachers and other senior staff from our schools. We've just started to plan a similar event for next term, actually inspired partly by Kelly's recent national event, which we were delighted to attend and to present at. We also plan to continue the training, if Kelly is willing, for our probationer teachers. So that's just a quick overview from myself about the work that's taken place in East Renfrewshire over the last kind of 2 to 3 years, and where we believe that we need to keep working and keep improving, so that young carers can continue to get a better experience in school. Okay, that's about it from me. Kevin, I'll pass back to you, and thanks very much for listening.
I'm delighted to introduce our next guest speaker. David had mentioned her a few times actually, so I'm going to introduce you to Kelly Monroe, who is the Education Officer for Primary and Secondary Education at Carers Trust. As David says, Kelly's did quite a lot of work in East Renfrewshire, whilst our role is national, delivering co-delivering probationary teacher training in East Renfrewshire. But as well as that, myself and Kelly have did some work with the universities as well. So I invited Kelly along today just to have a chat about the support that Kelly provides on a national level as well, because I think it's quite important. Obviously, whilst it's we live and we work in East Renfrewshire, it's good to see things from a national perspective as well. So I'm delighted that Kelly is able to join us today, and as I said, Kelly, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me along, Kevin. I'm just gutted that I can't be with you all in person. I love being invited to coffee mornings because there's always like really lovely coffee and tea and cakes. And unfortunately, I had to make my own tea this morning, so I'm a bit gutted by that. But I'm delighted to be here with you all, and thanks so much for having me. I think Kevin and David must be sick of the sight of me because David had referred we had a national launch event the other week. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a background on my role. I work for Carers Trust Scotland. As Kevin said, we're a national organisation. We're actually a UK-wide organisation. And in Scotland, we are also part of the Young Carers Services, the Scottish Young Carers Services Alliance. So we work with young carer services like East Renfrewshire Young Carers all over Scotland. And my role is relatively new. I keep saying this to people, but actually come June, I'll have been here 2 years. And it was a new role that was created because we were hearing from, we host the Scottish Young Carers Festival every year. I don't know if anybody's heard about it, but it's a festival to celebrate young people, young carers. They can come along. It was previously held in just off Edinburgh, but the last couple of years it's been in Fordell Firs. And it allows lots of young carers to come together to be children and young people first, but take in lots of fun activities. It's a 2-night residential, but it also gives them time to speak to ministers, MSPs. We've had people from Education Scotland along, and it gives them a chance to give their views across and do lots of consultation. And year on year, we were hearing from young carers saying, education's one of our biggest barriers. We sometimes feel that teachers don't understand, they're not quite sure what a young carer is, they don't know what our responsibilities are. On the flip side of that, a lot of young people are saying, I don't know how to tell my story, I don't know, I don't want my school to know because then I'll be treated differently. We were also hearing from services such as East Renfrewshire young carers saying, we're in schools and a teacher really gets it, or a head teacher really gets it, but if they move on, we're then starting from the beginning. So we knew there was lots of great work going on in schools, but equally it wasn't going up the way. So at a strategic level, General Teaching Council, Education Scotland, even some parts of the Scottish Government, it was quite siloed, young carers. So my role was kind of brought in as this human to tie all this together. And I've been delighted to say that since I started, I was absolutely welcomed with open arms from services. And on a national role, it was trying to bring all the great work together that young carer services were doing in schools, so that teachers or education professionals all around the country could go on and see all the great work. So we developed a digital education hub, which has resources from all over Scotland. And we're delighted to say that actually that's been well utilised. We don't know who goes on, but we do have quite a high count of the resources being downloaded. And the CMIS numbers nationally are going up. So for 2018, because it's always a year behind, so in March last year, the numbers came out for 2018, and it was just over 3,000 young carers recorded for the whole of Scotland. Now, the Scottish Government recognised that there's at least 29,000 young carers in Scotland, so that's a really low number of young carers getting recorded. Last year, that number went up to 3,904, I think 3,804 young carers recorded. So it is going in a positive direction, and it's so reassuring to see that East Rens are doubled. I think that Kevin may have a lot of work in his hands next year if that's going to go up to like 250, but it's amazing to see even an extra couple of young carers being identified. It's definitely a step in the right direction. Kevin's also referred to work that we've done with East Renfrewshire probationer teachers, and I would be delighted to come back. I love talking about young carers and I could do it all day. But Kevin and I have also presented in the University of West Scotland to their student teacher cohort, and that's been replicated outward. So as of the 1st of March, Carers Trust Scotland, in partnership with Young Carer Services nationally, have delivered training to over 900 probationer and student teachers, and that's been since September 2018. And we're still on target. I say on target because I don't have a set target of how many teachers. I would love to reach all teachers in Scotland, but we do have a lot in the diary for this year as well. Some of the universities we've presented to have been the University of Aberdeen, Stirling, Dundee, the University of the West of Scotland, as I'd said, and I'm sure there's another one. We've also been round local authority areas. So it's really, we're going in a positive direction, and we're actually seeing that now coming back from young people, from young carers. Previously it was, oh, I just stay off school because I'm going to be in early anyway because I'm a caring role, my teacher doesn't understand, I get bullied, I get this. But now what we're hearing from young people is, oh no, I've really got that one person I can go to in school. I've got a teacher that I can speak to. My school, I've now got somebody from the Young Carer Service that comes in, and it's fantastic. Actually, at the last kind of lockdown, when pupils had started returning to school, workers like Kevin would normally be able to come in the school, but actually what we were hearing is schools were setting up a small room, or they could go in an office where they could have a dedicated phone line or a dedicated laptop where they could link in with their worker, and that really meant a lot to them. But we're hearing a lot more positive stories. So hopefully at this year's Young Carers Festival, I'll be able to report back that a lot of young people our young carers are feeling a lot more supported in schools. And sometimes it's simple things that they're coming back. It's not saying, oh, I've got this huge support plan and all my teachers know and all this. Sometimes it's just, do you know, I can go in and have a chat with my teacher and it's really good. Or, do you know, they spoke to me about a young carer grant, which I'm sure you're going to hear about in other packages. Or actually they helped me out with some transport, so, or they helped me access transport, so I'm now getting to school on time and I'm not late every day. I'm able to do somewhere to do my homework. So yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction, and that's all down to you and services like Kevin and East Renfrewshire working together to improve the lives for young carers. I'm also really, you may see me a bit distracted this morning. It is Young Carers Action Day, and one of the tasks that I have is monitoring our Twitter account. So before I come on to speak, our Twitter has literally just blown up. We have so many people getting involved and committing to helping young carers today. So absolutely fantastic. And that thanks goes to all of you. So I'm not going to rattle on too much. I'll pass you back to Kevin, but it just gives you an idea of what's going on.
I'd like to invite Thomas Meeke from Young Scot organisation to speak now. So Tom is a development officer with Young Scot, and Tom's going to talk a wee bit about the kind of the entitlements for young carers in terms of the support that young carers that Young Scot have provided, but to talk a wee bit more about the Young Carers package, which all young carers in Scotland from the age of 11 to 18 are entitled to. So I'd like to invite Tom to come in and have a wee chat about that, please. Nice to see you, Tom.
So yeah, as Kevin said, my name's Tom. I'm a development officer at Young Scot, so I look after our membership services, which includes a universal offer for every young person in Scotland, but also includes our bespoke entitlements, which the Young Carers package is one of. So just a wee quick bit about Young Scot. We're Scotland's National Youth Information Service. So we provide information, entitlements, and also opportunities to empower young people in Scotland. You can visit us at young.scot for information on the Young Scot card, as well as discounts and information on all different topics that matter to young people. A little bit about the card. It's free for 11 to 26-year-olds who live in Scotland. As part of the card, you can access 500 discounts in Scotland and also 100,000 discounts across Europe, which won't be affected by Brexit, as we're part of the ECA, the European Youth Card Association. So that will stay in place regardless of anything that happens with Brexit. It's also free and legal proof of age via the pass signature, and young people can also use it to take part in voting for members of the Scottish Youth Parliament and funding decisions. And if you want any more information about the Young Scot card, you can get information at young.scot/card. So Young Scot membership, which is the bit that I manage, Young Scot membership kind of goes along with the card. It's kind of like an online way to access benefits of the card. So as part of Young Scot membership, young people can access online discounts, which go along with the sort of show and go discounts for the card. They can also access a rewards scheme, whereby they can collect rewards points by taking part in activities like volunteering, online surveys, reading information. Once they've accumulated some rewards points, they can exchange them for tickets for events, work sharing opportunities, study guides, apps, and loads more. Traditionally, we try and go down more the route of experiences, sort of money can't buy opportunities. But just because we can't do that right now, it has shifted more towards sort of vouchers and things like that. And like I said, they can also access online discounts at places like CastArt, Pure Gym, Lecky, Boohoo, and places like that. So the Young Carers package is a sort of a package that's available through membership, specifically, like Kevin said, for young carers who are aged 11 to 18. Essentially, we offer it in partnership with the Scottish Government, and it's a bundle of treats to say thank you for everything that young carers do. So in line with that, I mentioned before that universal members collect points by completing activities. So there are activities as part of the Young Carers package, and they can collect points, but they don't need to use points to claim any of the rewards through the Young Carers package. Like I say, it's a way to say thank you for everything they already do, so there's no extra effort on their part. It's filled with special rewards that we select especially for young carers, and also includes a lot of information on things like the Young Carers Grant, Young Carers Statements, and things like that. The eligibility is really simple, and we want there to be as few barriers as possible. So, like I said, it's for young carers who are aged 11 to 18. If they care for a family member, friend, or someone in the community, so it doesn't need to be someone they're related to. And all that matters is that the caring is regular, long-term, and they don't get paid for it. So that could be just getting the shopping for their neighbour once or twice a week, could be picking up prescriptions, could be a more traditional caring role where they're, very hands-on. It could just be emotional support, being there for them when they're not feeling great. So yeah, like I say, we want as many young people who have a caring role and do provide that support to identify themselves as young carers, and that's part of why we leave that sort of eligibility open to interpretation and allow any young carers to self-identify that they might be a young carer. So just a bit more detail about what's included in the package. We have claim rewards, which is when a young carer can just directly claim the reward. Essentially, they just say, I want that reward, and they claim that, and they get it. We also have win rewards, which are more like prize draws where they can enter and we pick winners at random. They can access over £200 of rewards immediately, so that's claim rewards. That includes vouchers, subscriptions, things like that. We have new rewards weekly, and we also do special rewards at Christmas and things like that. And the other thing is it's always evolving. So if there's anything that a young carer or any of you guys want to see offered and think that would be beneficial to young carers, just let us know and we can see if we can do it. And at the bottom there is just a selection of some of the rewards we've got. So they can enter in a £50 Body Shop voucher, they can claim a £25 Google Play voucher, get a month of Spotify for free, get a wellbeing gift box, which is something we've started doing recently. So these are boxes that are sent out directly to a young carer from the supplier, so they'll receive that in the post. And the first round include things like a guided sketchbook, some colouring books, some colouring pencils, and we're looking to do more of them, possibly bigger boxes that maybe the whole family can take part in. So for Young Carers Action Day, another reward we have that's just launched this morning is a 12-month subscription to Skillshare. So young carers who sign up to the package can get a free 12-month subscription. If you haven't heard of Skillshare, it's a great online learning platform where people can take part in courses. A lot of it's related to creativity. So there's, animation, film and video, graphic design, photography, web development, but they also have lots of sort of wider skills like business analytics, leadership, and more that are to do with lifestyle, productivity, things like that. So there's courses from like entry level to if you already know a little bit about the subject. So it's a really good way for young carers to potentially sort of fit their learning around their caring role and just boost their CV to protect their future, that sort of thing. Signing up again is really simple. So they sign up through Young Scot membership. So to do that, they create a Young Scot membership account. Once they've done that, there's a bar at the top. So they click special opportunities and then Young Carers package. And like the eligibility criteria, the application form is again quite light touch. We ask a few questions. So things like, do you have a young carer statement, or do you know what a young carer statement is? How did your caring role feel? And things like that. But the important thing is that doesn't affect their eligibility for the package. That's purely just so that the Scottish Government and we can sort of gauge, awareness of young carer statements and things like that. All they have to do to be eligible for the package is fill in the details of a trusted adult. So that could be a parent or guardian, a support worker, someone at school, or any other adult that they trust and can verify that they have a carer's role. What happens is we'll email that trusted adult and just say, this person has signed up for the Young Carers package. Are you able to verify that they are a young carer? And as soon as they say yes, we approve the application, and that's that. Oh, I should say, signing up is slightly different for under 12-year-olds, just due to data protection. We can't have them signed up to Young Scot membership. So it's a very similar process, but what happens is they fill in the same online form. If you go to young.scot/young carers, they can find that form. Again, we contact the trusted adult and verify the application, and then they select 2 rewards from the package that they can claim immediately. And then when they turn 12, they can sign up and sort of browse the full offer of the package. So if you've got any questions or ideas, you can email membership@young.scot or me at thomasm@young.scot. We're on all the different social media channels. You can get in touch through there, or you can go to young.scot for everything.
So obviously, kind of like with with the high schools, we've got kind of like young carers that are going to soon be going to higher education, including university as well. So I'm delighted that we've been joined today by the carers leads from the University of Glasgow, Monica Anderson and Denise Hooper. And Monica and Denise are going to talk about the support for student carers when carers get to university, and if they're going to Glasgow. So Monica is going to talk and Denise are going to talk a wee bit about the kind of the student carer experience from the University of Glasgow. And Monica, Denise, I just want to kind of first off just say thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate it, and I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Denise and I are just going to give you a bit of an overview about the support that is available for student carers at the University of Glasgow. So I'll just talk about what our definition of a student carer is and what the support is. And then Denise is going to talk a little bit about the verification process. So how would we verify that someone is a carer so that they can access this support from us? So we're delighted to say that at the end of 2019, we were awarded the Carers Trust Scotland Going Higher Award for student carers. And as part of that award, we adopted the Carers Trust Scotland definition of a carer, which we're really happy with because it's a really broad definition which allows us to really encompass all the different types of caring responsibilities that young people may have, which is great because that is what we would want to do. We fully appreciate the diversity and the different needs and roles that young carers can have. So we've adopted that definition, which I'm sure you're all very, very familiar with. In terms of the support that we have, first of all, we have the 2 main points of contact. So we have myself and Denise, and we really work with carers from the pre-application stage all the way through to graduation. So if you have any young people who are coming kind of towards the end of their secondary school education or starting to think about applying to university, please feel free to pass on our details to them because we're more than happy to speak to them, even if they've not got their application in but are just thinking about it. And actually, I would really encourage it because what I've found is that if sometimes that can be the kind of turning point for a young person deciding whether they can pursue higher education, is knowing what support is available for them and just having that reassurance that they will be able to balance their caring responsibilities with their studies. So we're happy to have that pre-application contact just to talk to carers about what support is available and what they'll be able to access once they're students at the university. We continue that support throughout the entire course of their degree. So basically, anybody who's a carer at the University of Glasgow can contact myself and Denise at any point during their degree. And the role is really, really diverse. Sometimes it's a case of signposting them to the appropriate service. So if they're maybe getting in touch saying they're struggling with note-taking in a lecture, we can signpost them to our learning support team, and they can take it from there. It can be signposting them to different support services. Sometimes it can be a case of advocating on their behalf. So for example, we've been really trying to increase awareness of carers across the university, but they're maybe working with an advisor of studies or a GTA who's not sure what a carer is and they're not sure how to start that conversation, they can get in touch with us and we will contact them and just kind of help them having those conversations so they maybe don't necessarily have to. And sometimes it's supporting them, like the kind of extreme end of it is supporting them during a crisis. So if for any reason a carer finds themselves in a situation where their caring responsibilities mean that they can't, for example, come into university for 3 weeks and something is happening which it's really difficult for them to contact their advisor of studies, contact all their subject heads, what they can do is they can email myself and Denise and we will make sure that anybody who needs to be made aware of the situation or any sort of support that needs to be put in place, any extensions that need to be granted, we can kind of take that role on their behalf so they're not having to deal with that while also having to concentrate on the kind of crisis that they're going through at that point. So it is a really, really kind of diverse role. But the idea is that if at any point anything happens, they have myself and Denise, and they can contact us and we can support them, like I said, from the pre-application stage right through to graduation. Carers are also a target group for all of our widening participation programs. Now we run our full suite of widening participation programs in East Renfrewshire. So our top-up program, Reach, Access to a Career, our summer school, and student carers are eligible for all of those programs. So they're eligible to take part in that. Through their participation in WP programs, they're also eligible for an adjusted offer of entry from the University of Glasgow, because we fully appreciate the impact that caring responsibilities can have on kind of academic attainment and how much time they'll have towards studying. So carers are actually in our top band for adjusted offers of entry, meaning they're eligible for the biggest adjustment that we can make. So just to give you an indication of what that means in terms of grades, for example, for one of our arts degrees, a standard offer at the end of S6 would be 5 A's. For a young carer, that offer could go down to 4 B's. So it's a really considerable adjustment that we can make for student carers, just because we are appreciating the context in which they've maybe sat their exams. Once they're students at the University of Glasgow, we have a carers policy in place, and as part of that carers policy, every student carer is eligible for a carers plan. And that carers plan is a really simple document which really just the carer will fill out with their advisor of studies, and it'll put in place any adjustments or arrangement that the young person needs to be able to balance their caring responsibilities with their studies. Some of the adjustments are quite kind of general and will usually be applied to anybody who's a student carer, so things like an automatic 3-day extension on any assignments, flexibility of attendance so that they're not marked down if they miss 1 or 2 seminars, and others can be more personal and more individual to the carer and their caring responsibilities. So just to give you an example, we had a young person who, as part of their caring role, had to take the person they were caring for to a medical appointment every Monday at 9 a.m. So luckily for the course that they were in, they could basically leave their Monday mornings free. They were allocated to an alternative seminar slot, so they could keep that half morning free so that they could fulfill their caring responsibilities without missing any work. And we do try and be as flexible as we possibly can. So there are academic requirements that the young person will have to meet, but we do provide as much flexibility as possible just with regards to that. So it is, some of them can be really, really individual like that. Some can be more kind of generic, like I said, with the flexibility of deadlines and attendance. We also have priority access to our student support services. So, for example, our counselling service, the counselling service at the University of Glasgow is really, really fantastic. But as you can imagine, there's quite a long waiting list, or there can be, depending on kind of what time of year it is. But the student carers have priority access to that. So if a student carer contacts myself and Denise and we'll just say that, I've had a really hard time, I'd really appreciate a little bit of support, we can contact the service with their permission and get them a priority appointment. And depending on kind of how quickly they need to be seen, we can actually get them the same day appointment in some cases. So that's just one of the services, but they also have priority service to kind of some of our funding services as well. And from a more kind of social side, we've got our Student Carers Network, which runs events throughout the course of the year. So things like drop-in lunches for student carers. We've had mindfulness sessions, just social events where student carers from across the university can just come together, have that support network. Myself and Denise are always at these events as well, so it can always be an opportunity just to come and have a chat to us about any concerns that they're having. And it's run jointly with our Student Representative Council. So it's just really about having that social context as well, and also knowing that there's other student carers at the university and building those support networks together. But that is just a kind of general overview of the support that we have available. In order to access this support, we do need to verify that someone is a student carer. And if I hand over to Denise, she'll be able to tell you about the verification process we have in place.
So yeah, the verification process, Monica and I are spending quite a bit of time on this just now, and it's a really valuable part of what we do with the students. So we ask that students contact us as early as possible, and certainly as they're completing the UCAS application. But as we were mentioning earlier, sometimes the teachers don't even know that the students are carers when it comes to them applying. So whoever's writing the reference, sometimes we can see that in a UCAS reference, that the teacher knows about the caring responsibilities and is able to identify that there. But sometimes they just have no idea, and we've had a few situations in the last few weeks where we're speaking to students and we're speaking to teachers, and this is the first time that they're finding out that these students have had, and in some cases, quite significant caring responsibilities. So it benefits everybody to go through the verification process, but we do need to have the evidence. And for the students, for the first stage, it is about the adjusted offer of entry. But as we were saying, it goes way deeper than that, because we are providing that support once the students are on course. And as we know, sometimes the caring responsibilities can change quite significantly from week to week, from month to month. So a student who's already at the university then could have caring responsibilities to take on at that stage. So we are as flexible as we possibly can be, but we do need to have evidence, and we ask for that evidence from a third party, so from a professional who knows a bit about the responsibilities that the role that the student is undertaking. And we know that the other thing is that this can be really personal. We know that it's very, very personal, not just to the student, but it's because it's not just their story that they're telling, but it's somebody that they care about, somebody that they love. It's their story that they're telling. So it can sometimes be quite difficult for them to give us information. But the more information that Monica and I have, the better, because it means that we can offer the best support that we possibly can. And that information only comes to Monica and I. So quite often students will maybe feel they have to send it to admissions, but we don't want anybody else to see it. It just comes to Monica and I. We would keep it completely private, and we would just confirm to the admissions office that a student has been verified as a student carer, and that's all that they need to see. And then after that, it would just be when the student is on their course, then they would meet their advisor of studies and be able to talk to them a bit more about their caring responsibilities and make their caring plan at that stage. A few different examples that we ask for. One of the most popular and one of the most useful is a statement from the Carers Centre from somebody who is working with a student in a caring role and supporting them through that. And quite often we're sent a copy of the carers plan as well, and that can be really useful. And that coming directly from the carer worker rather than from the student themselves is really useful, because again, usually the student doesn't always want to give the story, or they need to give permission, of course, but the carer worker generally knows what it is that we're looking for. Copy of the NHS carers card we would accept. I don't think in my time of doing this role I've ever seen that from a student, so I know that that's not always something that students have. And the other really common verification we have is a letter from the school or college. And again, if the student has had support at school or through their college, then that can be really, really useful. And again, direct from the teachers, we can have a phone call and speak to the teachers. And it's really just about understanding what impact that caring role has had on the students' education and on their day-to-day schooling. We also accept letters from GPs. Again, we know that students don't necessarily want to identify as carers at school, trying to keep things private from school. So we do accept letters from GPs. Again, sometimes that can be really, really useful when they know the situation. Other times it can be really impersonal, and it's not really the best information that we can receive. So generally having the letters either from the Carer Centre or from the school is really the best thing for us. But Monica, that comes directly to Monica and I, and we can then look at that, review it, speak to the students as well, and understand their story and their the support that they would like in place, because we know how varied it can be, and we know how different, again, from time to time, that students have those responsibilities. And the thing is, we want to be as flexible as possible, because, as we said, that we know that it can change from time to time. So we want to have that support in place, and if a student never has to use it, that's great. But what we want is that support is there, so that if they do need to access it, then it's not adding to their stress at a time when they're already having to cope with their education and their home life and balancing all of that at the same time. And I think that's everything that we are going to say. So, but obviously, if anybody does have any questions, then Monica and I are both we're both available.
Tony Clark from Social Security Scotland. Tony is a client support team leader, and Tony is going to talk a wee bit about the Young Carer Grant.
My name's Tony. I'm currently employed by Social Security Scotland, which is under the Scottish Government. So I'll just give you a wee short background into who we are, in case anyone hasn't had any dealings with us so far. So we're a brand new executive agency of the Scottish Government, and we were basically formed on the back of the independence referendum, where there was a Smith Commission published to say that on the back of that we in Scotland would be given certain powers and devolved benefits that we would administer across Scotland. So part of that, there's 3 tiers to that, and basically we are able to create brand new benefits in Scotland. We're also able to devolve certain benefits and pay them out in Scotland, and we can also administer certain top-ups to benefits. So on top of the devolved benefit, we can add a top-up if we see a need for that. So we deliver benefits in Scotland for people with disabilities, for carers, and for some people on low incomes needing help with particular costs. We have 2 offices, one in Dundee, that's our main office, and also in Glasgow, that's based in High Street. As well as that, as well as behind the scenes processing the benefits, we're also developing a nationwide face-to-face local service across Scotland. So across the 32 local authority areas, we'll have a team which is known as Local Delivery. So in East Renfrewshire, we're based in Voluntary Action at the moment, and that's our base location. I've got Megan Hillis and Andrew Young on the call today, so they're my client support advisors. So they make up the East Renfrewshire team. We're currently recruiting as well to make our team a lot bigger. And we will have outreach locations across East Renfrewshire, and we'll do pop-ups, and we'll be there to support people applying for benefits, any of the Scottish benefits that we'll administer, and as well as to provide any answers to questions you may have. It might not be about an application, it could just be some questions you've got. So we will have that service, and we'll complement all the other services that are out there as well, such as your money advice and rights teams, citizens advice. So we're all working together in tandem in East Renfrewshire to support the people of Scotland that need it, basically. So that's just a wee bit into who we are and what we do. So as I've mentioned, we can create brand new benefits, and on the back of our client experience panels, which we've conducted to basically see what people in Scotland want, what we're maybe missing, what we could do better, and on the back of that, there was, you know, a lot of research done to say that people didn't feel that young carers were recognised and supported enough. So on the back of that, we created the Young Carer Grant, which is a brand new benefit for people aged 16, 17 and 18. And we recognise that, you know, they're in a transition period in their life where they're moving, you know, into the adult world. They may be getting a job, they may be going to university, and they may find it more difficult to get those opportunities, as well as caring at the side of that. So we are wanting to provide some support, we want to improve the quality of their lives, even if it is, you know, just some extra money for them to go out and spend time with friends, you know, buy themselves something nice, to recognise that the work that they are doing is important, and we want to thank them for that. So it's a yearly payment, and the amount is currently at £305.10. So that's a payment that can be made each year. So you'll need to apply when you're 16, 17 and 18. and you need to be caring for someone for at least 16 hours a week, and that person needs to be in receipt of a qualifying benefit. So that would be like your personal independence payment or attendance allowance. That would be a qualifying benefit. If you care for one or more people, that will also be considered. So just say you care for someone maybe 4 hours a week and someone else 2, we can add that up as long as that's on average 16 hours a week. So it doesn't need to just be one person. So it's important to note that as well. As mentioned, they will need to fill in a form every year just to check their eligibility again to make sure that, you know, that can still be put in place. And it's a cash benefit. It will be paid directly into the account that they choose. So it could be their own direct account, or maybe it's a parent, a family member. And, you know, it can be any background that the young carer can be involved in. So they could be at school, employed, unemployed. We're not kind of restricting that there. So that's the eligibility for the young carer grant. There is some instances where you may not have eligibility. If you volunteer to be a carer for the person, you wouldn't get the young carer grant, or if it was part of a job as well. If you get carers allowance, you can't get the young carer grant. But what we'll say is, if a young person is going to be applying for carers allowance and hasn't done that yet, apply for the young carer grant first, get that payment of £305.10, and then put your application in for carers allowance. And it's just meaning that you're maximising the amount of money that you could be entitled to. So that's just a wee point to note. And you only get young carer grant if you care for someone. You don't get it if you volunteer or you're paid to do that. So that's just worthwhile wee points to note there. So as mentioned before by previous guest speakers, a lot of young carers, our research has shown that they don't identify as young carers, and you know, a lot of the feedback was young people are saying, oh, that's just what I do, that's just my life, and they just take it as a given. You know, some young people think that this happens in every household maybe, and they don't think they're doing anything extra. So on the back of that, we've tried to promote different examples. So this is a case example that's actually available on our website. We've got a few of those for if anyone thinks, I'm a young carer, would I be entitled to this? If they go on the gov.scot website, which I'll share with you at the end, they're able to see some case studies, and they maybe read that and say, well, actually, I do that. So maybe I am entitled. And what we say is, if you think you're entitled, apply for it anyway, and it can be looked at. Each case is looked at individually, and we can have a look into seeing, you know, is this person entitled? We've also got an extensive list of stuff that you could be undertaking as a young carer. So as well as these case studies, we've also got these lists, and it means that the young carer can have a look over it and say, well, actually, I'm doing some of that, or I'm doing all of it. And they maybe recognise a bit easier that they are a young carer. And we also want them to be sharing that information with friends. So if they maybe have got a friend and they think, well, actually, my friend does that as well, we really want to encourage that conversation, and we want them to recognise the great work that they're doing, and we want to, you know, thank them for it. And it's important to note that this is an entitlement, and we want everyone that's entitled to it to get the support. And as people have mentioned before on the call, the work that's done by young carers is amazing, and I'm so thankful to be here. So this is just one example. I won't read it out because it's been on the screen, but it's just to give you an idea of what the information that we've got available on our website. So this is another one. So this one's a bit different because it's bringing in physical care. The last example was mental support. So we want young people to recognise that it's not just that physical aspect of caring for someone. It's even just sitting, speaking to someone for a while. You know, supporting them with maybe some mental health issues that they're experiencing. So I think it's really positive to have that on our website, as well as all the other promotion that we're doing on top of that. So as well as today, these figures were just published today. I was speaking to Kevin earlier on in the week, and we kind of release our figures every few months. So these are just hot off the press. These were only published this morning at 9:35, and I just thought it would be good to share this information just to quantify, I guess, the support that we've put in place, and for you to see black and white in the figures and the help that we're giving across Scotland. So In total, we've had nearly 4,500 applications for young carers, and that's a great number. But you know, I'm sure there's much more young carers out there, and it's about trying to drive this message. It's about trying to encourage people to share the information. It's about us trying to promote this benefit as much as possible to see an increase in those numbers. Yeah, it's a great start, but I would like to see it higher. So in East Renfrewshire today, we've had 95 applications. Again, brilliant. I'm so glad we've managed to help those 95 young carers and give them that support. But I would be grateful if you guys as well on this call could just promote this benefit in your networks as much as possible. The total payment across Scotland is £861,634, which is amazing. So if you were a young carer in England just now, you wouldn't be getting this support, and this isn't paid out there. So it's definitely a positive. It's definitely a step in the right direction to get that support out there. And the total payment in East Renfrewshire is £19,043. So again, I'm really keen to support young people in East Renfrewshire as well as across Scotland, but myself and my team are going to be the ones that will be the face-to-face service. So we want to be out there as much as possible and working with organisations. I've been involved with the Carer Centre since I joined. Mark's been great and giving us information and allowing us to attend events. We actually went to one in a school, a young carers event, which was brilliant. It was really eye-opening to hear some of the young people actually personally speaking. And it's things like that that we want to be involved in, that we want to take part in. We want to get our faces known. We want people to, you know, build a relationship with us so that they do feel comfortable coming to us. I mean, it doesn't need to be in a school setting. We'll be in outreach locations all across local authority areas and countless different organisations, and we'll be in places that people and young carers use in the community. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Voluntary Action, our base location, but people could be getting in there for any sort of reason, for any, you know, they could be going to clubs, they could be going to the coffee shop. So we want for people to feel comfortable coming in, and if they did feel they didn't want to come in and people knowing that they're coming in to apply for a benefit, we want them, if you know, it could be totally random why they're going in there, no one else would know. And we just want to build those relationships and to be approachable and empathetic and, you know, drive the word to Social Security Scotland. We're delivering a whole host of benefits. I don't know if any of you are aware of it. If not, I'm going to share details that you can go on and look. So our online website is mygov.scot. For applications, we can do it over the phone. It can be done online on the above address, or we can get a form posted out if that's more appropriate. We are finding that Young Carers Grant is accessed mostly online. And I know for experience with Megan and Andrew, my team, young people are quite good digitally. So, you know, they're managing to do it really well, but we've also got that support of phoning in or getting a form, and the local delivery service launches at the end of this year. So if a young carer felt that they wanted support with that application, they would be more than welcome to come in and speak to us, and we would support them through the application, and we could sit with them while they were filling it in, and just give that added support to them. That's just my contact details there, alongside my team leader's details, which his name is Alan Parry. I don't know if any of you have met him before. I've also got the tags for our social media networks, so we use these really widely. I don't know if any of you are involved or follow any of them, but we promote all our benefits on there. We promote any changes, and even our recruitment. We've done a load of recruitment there. And posts are actively shared there. It's really well utilised, so if any of you want to go on there and have a look, and if you have got any platforms that you want to share information, then you could easily just share the post from there. And we've got loads of good useful videos and tools available.
Very, very lucky today, and that, you know, not only if the University of Glasgow kind of speaking to us as well, we've also got the University of West of Scotland coming along today to speak to us as well, to talk about the support that the University of West of Scotland provide for student carers. So obviously, kind of like we're located in East Renfrewshire, there's quite a kind of few kind of like unis quite kind of close to hand. So quite a lot of kind of like students that will be kind of leaving school this year will be heading to the University of West of Scotland. So I'm delighted that we've been joined today by Alison Hillis, who is the carers lead for the University of West of Scotland. And Alison's just going to talk a wee bit about the kind of student carer experience and the support for student carers at the University of West of Scotland.
My name is Alison Hillis, and I work at the University of West of Scotland. I'm primarily based at the Paisley campus, ordinarily when there's no coronavirus situation. And myself and Mary Young, we're a team of two who are the named contacts for student carers at UWS. I work within the recruitment and marketing department, which is maybe a bit of a strange one, but I work more with pre-entry. So if somebody's interested in coming to UWS, I'll work with the person to support them to come into the university and the transition kind of phase of things. And then my colleague Mary Young is working in student support, and she works more with students who are currently at the university and provides them with support from the day they kind of arrive through to graduation. So there's two sort of sides to the support that we offer. I don't know how many people have been to Paisley campus or UWS, but at the moment it's obviously not possible to visit, but that's a wee picture of four of our campuses, our four Scottish campuses. So Paisley, as you probably have seen or walked past many times. Lanarkshire, we have one over at the Hamilton Technology Park in Lanarkshire. We also have a campus down in Ayr at the Riverside and a campus in Dumfries. So just a wee picture of each of them, just so you're aware. We've got virtual tours of all the campuses on our website. So if anybody has somebody that's thinking of applying or interested in finding out more about us, then they can go online and do a wee tour and at least get a feel for what the campus is like at the moment. In terms of support for student carers at UWS, well, myself and Mary Young are named contacts. So we are there to work with students from pre-entry right through to graduation, as I mentioned. There's a dedicated email, which is wecare@uws.ac.uk, and that is manned every day of the week, Monday to Friday, and your questions would be answered. So email that email if you have any questions or queries at any point. We would support carers themselves, but also teachers, agencies, anyone that's got an inquiry, please send us an email and we will answer it as soon as possible. In terms of pre-entry support, then we can help with the UCAS form if somebody's thinking of applying, if they've got any questions, or if they're interested in information about funding, what is the situation, then we can help with that pre-entry. And ordinarily what we would do is if somebody had contacted us before they were about to come to UWS, we would probably have met with them, sat down, helped them with that form, talked it through any queries they have. But right now it would be obviously a virtual kind of meeting if required, a one-to-one meeting, chat through things, or a phone call. We can help with any questions to do with that if required. We would also link to any other student support. So there's a whole team of other student support, which I'll tell you a bit about in a minute, all our student support services that are available to all student carers and all students. And I can talk you through that on our next slide. We're offering transition events as well this year, so online virtual events for anyone that's applied, and we're offering them particularly for student carers within the summer, and those will be promoted and advertised through our website, but we can also send you information about that. We'll send it out to schools, we'll send it out to agencies, local organisations, and it will be on social media. So we'll make sure that's widely available, and we'll email people with information about that. They basically cover things like any worries you might have before you attend university, introducing the key areas and key staff, so funding, how to actually enrol, that kind of thing. So they're all quite relevant to everybody, but we're offering one particularly for student carers, specifically for student carers themselves, because they might have particular queries. A lot of information about the support that we offer for student carers is on our Supporting You website. So have a look at our website and you can find a bit of more information about what we provide. And just an aside as well, we have a website at the moment which is experience.uws.ac.uk. And it's just a whole raft of information about UWS that might be relevant as well. All applications are considered at UWS on an individual basis, but if you're applying and you're a young carer, let us know, drop us an email at that dedicated email, and we'll help you with discussing about what to put in the application, about the fact that we could notify admissions if that's the case, and we can liaise on your behalf in that situation. Make sure it's on the form in some way, whether it's in your personal statement, and let us know what responsibilities you have that may be relevant to your application. Okay. A little bit more information about support that we offer. So as soon as you enrol at UWS and we know you're a student carer, we will email you immediately. We'll let you know about the support available. We'll introduce the team if we haven't already introduced you pre-entry, if you didn't already know about us. We offer one-to-one virtual sessions for anyone that should require it. We email everyone that's enrolled and offer them support and to meet with them one-to-one on a one-to-one basis within the first term. In addition to that, we've tried virtual coffee and chat sessions, which have been received okay. Some are attended, some are not, just depending on whether people are busy or not. But that's something that we've offered. And every week we have a drop-in session on a Wednesday from 12 to 1. And one of us is there online, ready to talk to anyone who has any queries or worries or concerns at all. So we're there to provide support to anyone that should require it. Regular communications are sent out to our student carers as well. We email regularly with any updates, any notifications about funding or anything from the government or anything that any local carers organisation send out to us, we would send out to our students as well and let them know of what's going on. And also we remind them that they can make an appointment and the drop-in sessions are running. So student carers, I would say, get lots of emails from us and lots of notification and reminders. If they want support, then we are there to provide it. Our student union is also quite a good organisation to provide support. We have key workers there who, if students don't want to contact us as staff members at the university, they can contact our student union support team as well. And they do provide a lot of support to student carers as well. So it's another team of people that are there to help. This student support is available to all students, but our student carers do use this support, so it's quite useful to know about in terms of it's available for everyone who comes to UWS. And what we would do at the UWS Cares team is we link in with these support services. So if somebody's feeling a bit like they don't want to contact the funding team, we would do that on their behalf. As a student carer, we would say, well, we are happy to contact them. We're happy to talk to your personal tutor about your circumstances, should you give us permission. And we'll liaise with the relevant team at the university to make that sort of initial contact and reaching out for that support a little bit easier. We do that for care experienced student carers and estranged students. So we act as a kind of liaison service as well for the other support services. The different sources of student support that are relevant are the academic skills team, who offer support on if somebody's struggling with the academic work, then they can offer support and help with essay writing, referencing, that kind of thing. And we've referred many people on to the academic skills team and recommended an appointment if they're struggling with their course. And they've been a wonderful help to a lot of students. And we make one-to-one appointments, or they'll make an appointment with a group of people. And they can help a lot of people get back on track if they're worried about their academics and keeping up with essay deadlines, that kind of thing. The academic team can help with that. A personal tutor is the key person that we would always recommend that a student would contact, and they can again help if somebody's struggling to keep up with deadlines, if they're struggling to submit their essays on time, if there's so many things going on at home that they're finding all that difficult. We would offer to talk to their personal tutor on their behalf and liaise with that personal tutor should that be necessary. and the tutor can obviously then talk to the student directly if that's appropriate, or we can help in that way. Funding team, obviously, our funding and advice team are very, very key, and we would liaise with them as well, should it be required, or we recommend that somebody would get in contact with them. There's loads of different additional funding resources that can be available, so discretionary funds, childcare funding, digital poverty fund. There's actually a COVID fund at the moment available for students at UWS, so there's lots of sources of funding that we can then refer on to the funding team as they're the experts, but advise students to contact them and liaise. Disability team as well are available should somebody require that, and we can refer and recommend that that's appropriate. Should somebody need that in advance of coming to UWS, we always recommend that they contact the student, the disability team before they come, so that they make sure that they've got the appropriate support in place before they actually start their course. And the counselling team, we have a qualified staff of trained counsellors, and should somebody require that support, we can approach the counselling team and say we think somebody requires support, and we would recommend an appointment. They can make a one-off appointment, or they can make a series of appointments with our counselling team, and they're fully qualified, confidential service, and they support students that require that. Accommodation is available as well on campus should anyone require it. I'm not sure if that's appropriate today, but there is accommodation available should somebody come to UWS and require it. And there are cases where we provide 365-day accommodation if somebody had real need for that. Multi-based chaplaincy on all campuses. Sport and fitness, which is very good for your mental health and well-being. We have a gym on every campus. At the moment, obviously, you can't go to the gym on our campuses, but you can once you're a student, and those facilities are really welcomed by our students. They're free for all students. I think we're the only university in Scotland that offers free gym access for all students, and it's enjoyed by a lot of our students. And the careers and development team are there, obviously, to help students with their next step after they leave UWS and into employment. So that student support is available for all students, but our We Care team, as I've said, acts as a liaison with that student support to make it more accessible for student carers should they require any of those services. There may well be people that contact our student support teams directly themselves, and they're happy to do so, but we offer that little bit extra support should they want it. I wasn't sure who was attending, but it was just in case anyone is in the stage where they're thinking of applying, or if any teachers are here. We are still accepting late applications to UWS. I wasn't sure what was appropriate for today in terms of information that people required. But if anyone's thinking of applying at the moment, or if anyone knows somebody that's thinking of applying, we will still accept late applications. And myself and Mary will help with that process if anyone needs to. Our Ask team is there again for any inquiries as well, so contact Ask if there's any questions on the applications process. Some useful email addresses there that I've mentioned. So the We Care, I've gone too far, I'll just go back. The We Care team is myself and Mary Young, and that's our email address there. Ask is just for any generic inquiries about UWS, so thinking of applying, or if anyone has any general things they want to ask. Our Hub team is the link to all the student support services that I mentioned. The Experience page is all about all the information about UWS that might be required, and the Supporting You pages on our website cover all the information that I've said, so the support that we offer and also other support that's there for students should they come to UWS. So that's a very quick overarching bit of information, but the key thing is that we have dedicated staff there to support carers should they require the information, and we will make contact with carers. Carers can tick on an enrolment form to say that they are a student carer, and then we will contact them directly once they make themselves known to us. If somebody contacts us and says we don't want information from you, then we will obviously take them off our list, and we won't send them out the regular communications, because people are in different situations should they require the support or not. And if anyone contacts us in advance of entry, then we'll provide support as well, so that we could provide support pre-entry right through to coming on as a student. There are offer holder sessions as well coming up. I think the 24th of April is the next offer holder session. So should somebody be sitting holding an offer and they want more information about what it's like to be at UWS, it's an excellent opportunity to come along and talk to our staff and academic schools at that point and find out more information. And there'll be lots of virtual events that people should hopefully take note of, and we can send out information to people about them. Particularly at the moment, I just feel people are not able to come on campus. And if they need that additional help and support and information from us virtually, then there's a lot of events coming up between now and when students actually come to UWS to give them that extra information and support.
I'm delighted now to introduce our next guest speaker, Mrs. Emma Ball, who is the youth service, works in youth services for East Renfrewshire, and Emma's just going to give a wee input about the work that herself and her team do as well. So welcome, Emma, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Morning. I'm so sorry that I couldn't come to the full session this morning, but thank you so much for having me. Kevin has asked me along today to have a kind of quick discussion or a quick chat around young people and young people having their voice in East Renfrewshire and opportunities for that. So the Community Learning Development team, who I manage, has a responsibility to ensure that young people have opportunities to be involved in decision making, both with the council and community planning partners. So we support groups of young people to have their voice. We have members of the Scottish Youth Parliament who are elected by their peers for terms of 2 years to be members of the Scottish Youth Parliament and contribute young people's views both nationally and locally. So we have one member of the Scottish Youth Parliament who sits on the Renfrewshire South side, which covers Barrhead and Neilston and Uplemure, and we have 2 members for the Eastwood constituency. So young people are elected by their peers and they participate in decision making at a national level by attending sittings when they can. Just now they're all online, but travelling to different parts of Scotland to meet with like-minded people and to campaign on issues that affect them. So the Scottish Youth Parliament previously, I think probably back in 2014 perhaps, had a Young Carers campaign where they championed for young carers' rights, and that was very, very successful. Other campaigns that they have been involved in are around kind of equal marriage. They've had campaigns around transport. They've had campaigns around a variety of different things nationally. So an opportunity for young carers may be, hopefully will be this year when we have the next round of elections coming up. So because of COVID, the term for members of the Scottish Youth Parliament has changed slightly, so it's been extended. So normally the election period would be happening right now, but instead they're happening in May. No, they're not. They're happening in November. It'll kick off in May. We'll be working with schools. We'll be working with the Carer Centre. We're working with other voluntary organisations to ensure that young people know about this opportunity, what benefits it would have to them, and also how to stand for election. And young people would then go through a training programme where they would plan their individual campaigns, and they would campaign in their schools and their local community, and hopefully get the votes of their peers. We will then work with schools and other organisations to ensure that all young people have the opportunity to vote in those elections. So we're just starting the planning for that opportunity now. So we'll be in touch with individual organisations about how we can work together to make sure that young people, including young carers, have the opportunities to stand in those elections. The members of the Scottish Youth Parliament also work with the East Renfrewshire Youth Voice, which is a group of young people from all over East Renfrewshire who come together on a weekly basis to campaign and take action on issues that are important to young people and give young people the opportunity to have their say. So this group consults with young people on their views and feeds those views back into elected members for the council, back into services and back into council departments. They have been working on a range of projects at the minute. Some of the examples of these are working with the Director of the Environment Department on a kind of climate change project. They've been working with the Education Department, and I see David's here today, around kind of PSHE and changes to that curriculum. But right now they're also developing a youth participatory budgeting project where young people will have the opportunity to apply for pots of money, which will then be decided who gets the money by young people themselves. So that's a really exciting opportunity that we hope to involve young carers in. That's very brief, but that's our Youth Voice opportunities. We also have youth workers based in schools. We have youth workers working out in the community. Our street work programme has grown as a result of COVID because we are unable to do as much building-based work with young people. So we're spending a lot of time with young people outside in their communities across East Renfrewshire. And we've had discussions with both Mark and Irene recently about actually how we're identifying young carers and how we can support them out through detached youth work, as well as the support that Kevin and the team can give them in a more targeted approach. So that's quite interesting as well. But if anybody's got any questions about youth work, about CLD, feel free to ask.
I think as well that having kind of listened to everyone this morning as well, it's just obviously we all know it's been a really kind of difficult year, with the pandemic, but I've been really encouraged that that the kind of the support that's out there for young carers as well, and it's just so important. Obviously, kind of like we're having kind of like events like we are today to kind of so that everybody kind of knows what support is available for young carers as well. But I know that obviously myself and the young carers team as well, we're in constant dialogue with our young people as well, kind of like reminding them about you've got that, you're entitled to this support, you're entitled to that support as well. But it's so good to kind of see that obviously look beyond that as well, kind of like the wider support that's available as well. And I feel as if I feel really kind of it's quite nice to kind of be able to kind of have this kind of discussion this morning and kind of realise how much support that there is actually there for young carers, which is fantastic. If no one has any other questions, I just want to thank everybody so much for coming along today. Guest speakers, obviously, for giving up your time to kind of speak to us as well, but also to everyone else that's taking part and kind of like came on this morning. We really appreciate it. And Ryan's, my colleague Ryan's kind of put our contact details for everyone at the Young Carers team. So we've got Anna, Adele and Sarah. So we've all got our own individual emails. We've got our own individual kind of work mobiles as well. So as well as the kind of the generic East Renfrewshire Carers Centre details as well. So if anyone wants to get in touch with us, any kind of individually, then that's our details there. And once again, I just want to thank everyone so much for coming on this morning and taking part. And hopefully, kind of when it's Young Carers Action Day next year, that we'll be able to actually have an in-person event rather than having to do it virtually. But once again, thank you so much to everyone that's been involved today. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you've got something out of the session. So thank you very much.